Hello and welcome to FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Chandler Pruitt. Let's break down the busy show we have today. We have some clouds out ahead of us and some rain atop of us, but it hasn't really reached the ground as much, but we're at 74 degrees with winds out of the east. Now, as they shift towards the south, we'll bring in more moisture and finally see some of that rain really start to arrive. Those current temperatures, again, in the 70s, 60s if you get up close to Thomasville, but it's so far sitting pretty comfortable. We're going to see that rain really start to pull on through in the Big Bend region, go in the overnight hours and into Thursday morning. But by Thursday evening, we see some clouds, but everything starts to clear out. For tonight's temperatures, we will be sitting in the upper 60s and 70s, actually, if you're along the coastline. But again, that's what you would expect for right now with all that rain in the area. 77 tomorrow, though, AM rain, and then our headline. So we're going to be talking about cloudy and rainy here in Florida, as well as weather trivia, and then the New Orleans Spotlight. All that and more on FSU Weather.
Yes, thank you, Chandler. We're going to have an interesting show here tonight. We have interesting weather coming into much of Florida, potentially strong to severe storms for the peninsula and coastal areas of the Panhandle. They could be nocturnal. We're going to have a threat of isolated tornadoes, so definitely make sure to keep your weather radios on tonight, because if you have a tornado warning at night, you do want to know to definitely be going to your safe spot in your house. You don't want to be hit by a tornado and wake up in the middle of it. You want to be aware of it. We're also going to be dealing with the possibility of flash flooding further inland, so Georgia's going to get more of a threat for flash flooding, where along the coast you're talking more about severe weather. So a multitude of threats coming through the area. We only have to get through today and tomorrow, and then each day should get a little bit drier after that. So just make sure to pay attention to the weather for the next 24 hours or so. Make sure to have your phones on. Make sure to be paying attention to any alerts that you might be receiving over the next 24 hours to make sure that you're going to be weather aware. You always want to stay weather aware when there's threat of severe weather. And I'm going to take us over to the wall with Local 1 for some look at our local conditions right now. We're starting with our live look at Doak Campbell Stadium. We're not dealing with severe weather quite yet, but you're dealing with rain, you're dealing with clouds. We're going to be getting some heavier rain not too long from now, so definitely be prepared for that. Have your umbrella ready, because you're going to be walking around out in this, and it's going to start raining soon. It is not quite raining yet, but it is getting very close. Within the hour, we will be seeing that rain here in Tallahassee. For today, however, despite the clouds, it was a pretty nice day out. We only hit 74 because of those clouds, which was about 10 degrees below average, 9 degrees to be exact. Obviously nowhere near our record of 93 in 2014. We were nowhere near the record of 41 either. Our average, or our low, was actually higher than the average low because of those clouds as well. But that kept the temperatures nice and not getting too warm, and it was a pretty nice day to be outside. Looking at our temperatures area-wide, we're dealing with 74 here in Tallahassee. It's our warmest spot, because you're already dealing with more clouds and rain in Georgia, and you're already dealing with rain on the coast, where you're in the 60s in Apalachicola already. And it's going to cool off throughout the night until the warm front gets closer. Our dew point's another big story. You can tell that there's much more humidity than what we were seeing here yesterday. A dew point of 67 in Apalachicola. You're only a couple degrees off from 70-degree dew points that we normally see in the summer here. Dealing with drier air up in Georgia, but this drier air, its dew points are going to go higher later tonight, and you're going to get the rain here anyway, so definitely be prepared for that. And wind speed and direction, we were at 15 in Tallahassee earlier. It's gotten a little lower, but it is going to be breezy tonight. Main story, one of the main stories, we do have a slight risk for severe weather along the coast, mainly for tornadoes and damaging winds. Tallahassee is in the marginal though, so if the warm front comes a bit further north than expected, we could see severe weather here tonight too, so make sure to pay attention to that. Perry and further southeast, you're all in the slight risk. Anyone in the peninsula, if you have family and friends in the peninsula, make sure they're weather aware. Same story for tomorrow. Anything southeast of Perry, you're in the slight risk. So any family and friends out there need to be weather aware for damaging winds and isolated tornadoes. Tallahassee should be dealing with mostly non-severe storms tomorrow. But Friday, still in the threat for storms. Doesn't look like it's severe right now, but we'll have to keep an eye on it with a frontal boundary in the area and daytime heating to see if anything intensifies more than expected. But right now, you can see that the rain is starting to get closer pretty quickly, so definitely be weather aware. Be paying attention to this if you're going to be out on the roadways. Main stories you see middle of the night tonight, you're looking early tomorrow morning as well, heavy rain. Tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening should just be cloudy, and it's going to be pretty nice to be outside by then, actually. So if you want to be outside tomorrow, do it later. Our rainfall forecast, widespread areas of 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain. Hot spot to the east of up to 2.5 inches of rain in Valdosta. Taking a look at your week ahead, however, 90% chance of storms tomorrow. That's your active day. And then we start to clear out the rest of the week. Our game day might be a little bit warm, but our cold front comes through. Look at our temperatures as we head into Monday night and Tuesday night. We're in the 40s with dry conditions. Now I'm going to pass things off to Chandler.
Thank you for that. Well, we'll expand our view to cover more of the state of Florida. But as Nico was mentioning, we do have that chance for severe weather. Here in Tallahassee, we're sitting with some clouds. We're most likely not going to see too much in the realm of severe weather unless nighttime something changes. Maybe that warm front does go farther north. At Jacksonville, you guys also have some clouds, but mostly just okay weather. Same weather as us, 73 degrees. Tampa, though, different story. You guys are heating up almost to 90 degrees. You guys have had some of those pockets of sunshine try to peek through, so you guys are dealing with more of that severe weather threat. Those current conditions, though, 67 in Pensacola, but once we go farther south, we start to see those 80s, 88 again in Tampa, but Miami, you guys are also sitting pretty warm at 84 degrees. As for the current dew points, same story. We have those 70s, high 70s, down in South Florida and Central Florida, but once you go up to the Panhandle, we start to see those 60s, so a different story across the state. And with that, we're talking about two different setups. Here in the north, we're talking about some stratiform rain, some light rain falling, but over across the peninsula, we're looking at those storms that are going to pop off and feed off that moisture and that warmth and possibly produce some straight line winds and maybe even a couple isolated tornadoes. So that is the threat. And the Storm Prediction Center really indicates that here in the day one outlook. Slight risk across central Florida on that I-4 corridor between Tampa and Orlando. So that's something to keep in mind. And that threat persists across central Florida and even a little bit of North Florida going into tomorrow as well. But it's going to be the same setup, same story with a decent amount of rainfall as well as a decent amount of wind. As for our rainfall forecast, we're looking at the most heavy rain falling across South Alabama, South Georgia, and also across North Florida. So that is the main story for us here in the Big Bend region. We're going to look at a lot of rainfall. But in Miami, you guys will see a possibility for some showers. It's just going to be a lot more sporadic. You guys are sitting at lower 90s with some low rain chances come tomorrow and into Friday and Saturday. But again, that is something that you guys usually expect this time of year, some afternoon showers. Tampa, you guys are also going to be expecting some showers, but that's not really afternoon showers. This is, again, associated with that front that we've been pointing out, that system that is coming towards us. You guys are going to be seeing some severe weather, again, going into Thursday. And then Friday and Saturday, you guys will see those showers persist. As for Orlando, you guys are also going to be sitting at about the same situation, 80s, upper 80s, and also a decent amount of rain chances, storms on Thursday, and then going into Friday and Saturday, again, some showers are expected. As for Jacksonville, though, you guys are going to be much cooler, 76 degrees tomorrow, but some showers are expected as well, so that is something to keep in mind if you're in Jacksonville. But in Pensacola, different story. You guys are dealing with the showers right now, and you guys are going to see everything start to really clear out come Thursday into Friday and Saturday. You guys are going to warm up to 86 on Saturday. For tonight's forecast, though, again, 60s and 70s across the peninsula, and then tomorrow's forecast, we're going to heat it back up into the 90s, but 70s if you are in North Florida. But hey, how about let's look at the national with Nico?
Yes, thank you, Chandler. We're dealing with different weather around the nation right now, but our current temperatures, you can see the first thing that sticks out to me, the first thing that I saw when I looked at my graphics is Kansas City, Missouri now is warmer than much of the southeast because you do have the warm front pushing in. you're going to have a cold front over the next couple days. You're already dealing with some showers and storms in Denver right now. So if you have any family and friends out in Denver, they need to be weather aware about storms. You can see where all the moisture is surging northward all the way up into Nebraska and Iowa, where they actually do have a marginal risk of severe weather today as well with that system up there. Florida, you can see, is obviously very muggy, especially central and southern Florida. Our dew point in Miami, 76 right now. That's summer-like for them. Here's where you're set up right now. You have the warm front, probably pushed a little bit further to the north now, as we are already at 80 degrees in Kansas City. You've got showers and storms near it, and then you have storms over the Rocky Mountains as well, and then you have your major low pressure system here in the Gulf of Mexico that's going to affect Florida. And if you look at your water vapor, you can see that this system has a ton of moisture, especially over the Gulf. Obviously, you're probably not boating in the Gulf, but if you are, you definitely don't want to do that right now with the weather that they're going to be experiencing. Out here in the Rockies, you can see there's another upper level low, and you're dealing with moisture out here too. Here's your SPC Day 1 outlook, though. You have your marginal risk out here in the northern plains and parts of the Midwest, your slight risk in Florida for damaging winds, possibly some hail, and possibly some isolated tornadoes. We've already had a couple tornado warnings today. Definitely make sure to stay weather aware because, like I said earlier, the main part of this threat is going to be in the overnight hours, and you can't see tornadoes at night, and a lot of you will be sleeping, and you want to be able to be woken up. Tomorrow, we're dealing with two areas. We're dealing with the similar area here in Florida. This should be in the daytime tomorrow, not overnight, mostly in the morning and early afternoon hours. Same threats as tonight, damaging winds, hail, and isolated tornadoes, so stay weather aware tomorrow. You're also dealing with damaging winds and isolated tornadoes and hail. Nebraska, Kansas, far northwestern Missouri, far southwestern Iowa. If you know anyone who lives out here, definitely make sure to let them know to be weather aware as well. Looking around the country, we're dealing with a ton of alerts right now. We're dealing with freeze watches out in parts of the Rockies, even freeze warnings in parts of the Rockies, winter weather advisories in upper parts of the mountains. So if you're going to be hiking in these parts of the mountains, you are dealing with snow because you have high elevations, you're going to be colder, and it's not going to feel nice if you're walking around. So definitely make sure to be weather aware for winter weather as well. It can be dangerous to be outside. It can be dangerous to drive around in it. As we look at our next 3 days, though, lots of rain in the southeast, 3 to 5 inches in parts of southern Georgia. Our other part of the country, 3 to 5 inches. Parts of southern South Dakota, parts of northern Nebraska, they're going to be dealing with a lot of rain as well. So definitely make sure to know your flash flooding, what you're going to be doing. As for our temperatures for tonight, we're dealing with 65 degrees here in Tallahassee, 79 in Tampa. So as you go further south this evening, you can see where it's warmer. You can absolutely see where that warm front is, and you're obviously dealing with temperatures that are going to be in the 60s parts of the plains. For tomorrow, you're going to look at a warm day across much of the country. Look at San Antonio at 90. Another thing that stuck out to me when I saw my graphics, 93 in Miami, 77 here in Tallahassee because we are dealing with that rain. As we are dealing with rain, we would get warmer if it was going to be sunny tomorrow, but we're dealing with rain that's going to keep us cooler. Now I'm going to bring things over to the desk for a little bit of some weather trivia as well.
Well, that's right, Nico. So we'll talk about that weather trivia. One of the first things to discuss is, first off, how's your day?
It was pretty good. Tracking the system, it's interesting to watch for sure.
Of course, of course. And we've had an interesting day. It's been kind of normal weather, but let's talk about some of that crazy weather. For our highest surface winds, what would you say is the correct answer to this trivia question?
So I know New Hampshire has strong gusts. So if it's based on the gust, it's probably dem, but I don't know if this question is based on sustained wind or gusts.
Well, I think we're going to have to go with sustained winds here just because it's saying just wind speed in general, but it could be gusts, you're right. But because we don't know, we'll just have to stick with the answer that we know. And Mount Washington does have a lot of gusty wind. They actually do have a recording of 231 miles per hour because they're on top of a mountain. They have a decent amount of valleys that funnel the wind up on top of the mountain and create really extreme weather up there. But how about this next question? So storm surge. We know that's a pretty big threat with hurricanes. What is the highest storm surge that's been recorded?
I believe it was 42 feet that we said, which if you get 42 feet of storm surge, it's going to be pretty bad.
Yeah, and that actually was back in the 19th century in Australia. So a tropical cyclone over there down under caused that storm surge. But we have one more question. How much did the heaviest hailstone in history weigh? This is a pretty hard one to gauge. We know sizes, but we don't really talk about weight here on FSU Weather. So what do you think?
I believe we said it was 2.25 pounds, but I know it was as big as a volleyball, and it was in South Dakota. If you get hit by a hailstorm that big, that could be fatal, so you need to pay attention when you get warnings for hail as well.
That's right. You know, ice, it has air in it, but it can still be quite heavy at times. And, 2 pounds falling from the sky, that's going to have a lot of velocity. That's going to kind of hurt a lot. But, we're not really expecting that here in Florida, and we're not really expecting that in New Orleans either. Now we're going to move on to a spotlight of New Orleans and talk about some of the weather that they're currently experiencing. And, hint, they aren't seeing that kind of hail. Current conditions, 63 degrees and cloudy. They do have some rain at the moment with winds that are pretty gusty, northeasterly winds at 18 miles per hour. So pretty gusty, but again, not crazy weather like what we were talking about just a moment ago. So talking about that temperature almanac, well, they were at 74 degrees as their high today. Their average is 82, so they definitely did stay below average. Their low, actually, they also stayed below average, so a different story from us here in Tallahassee where we were slightly above average. But their low is only, their average low is only 66 degrees, so it's pretty easy for them to hit that with the current weather setup. But their record was not approached at all. That was 91 degrees as their high. They were far off from that. As for the day planner, though, so talking about tomorrow, 64 degrees is what they'll start off with, 7 a.m., with some possibility of a little couple spurts of rain. But by noon, we're heating up to 69 degrees, and 5 p.m., 75 degrees. So a similar story to what we saw today, but the difference is that they will see some sunshine, so they'll warm up just a tad bit more, and they won't be seeing those rain chances. Now, those current dew points, well, we're sitting pretty muggy. That's what you'd expect in Louisiana, but it's actually not as muggy as what we were talking about in Miami. The difference is, Burris, you guys are at 68, so that is a pretty muggy conditions over there in southeastern Louisiana. 60 in New Orleans, so that's also pretty muggy, but you're not going to notice it whenever you're talking about temperatures also in the 70s. So, but that explains why we're seeing that rain. Whenever you have those dew points and temperatures come close together, you expect that rain. But we're seeing that rain it's going to start to move out of the area come this evening and into tomorrow morning. And we'll see a couple of spurts of maybe a couple showers as those clouds are clearing out. But by this time tomorrow, we're expecting sunny conditions in New Orleans. So you guys will probably have beautiful weather for you guys to go out and enjoy, hit maybe a park, go for a walk your dogs, that kind of stuff. So, but as for our severe weather, we're talking about it. Just that's something. This is interesting that we're talking about active alerts here with rip currents as well across the Florida coastline. But as for the weekend forecast, we're talking about here in New Orleans again. No, this is Miami actually. So we're talking about 90s across the area, but it's going to be pretty nice conditions overall in New Orleans. But we're still talking about southeast Florida. Again, you guys are going to be sitting at 80s or upper 70s and low 80s. But now we're going to move on to the lifestyle with Nico.
Yes, thank you, Chandler. Looking around, if you're going to be outside and about right now, you can see a camera that sticks out right now. Panama City, it's raining. It's not a great day to be out on the beach in Panama City. It's absolutely not a great day to be in the water because you'll be cold and you'll already be wet, and then you're not going to get the sun to dry you off. St. George Island was dealing with rain earlier. You still see some rain on the camera. It looks like it may have lightened up a little bit. And right now in Tallahassee, we aren't quite getting the rain yet, but we're going to be getting it very soon. Within the next 30 minutes or so, it is going to be arriving here in Tallahassee from the southwest. You can already see parts of Leon County. It's starting to get heavier. It's been kind of with the dry air, it's been staying away from us, but it's starting to creep closer and closer, and we're going to be expecting that here very soon. So if you are outside doing anything right now that you can't get wet during, right now is your time to get inside before this gets here. And we're going to be continuing to see rounds of storms that could be heavy and potentially strong overnight, especially along the coast. But if that warm front comes any further north, we will see severe weather here in Tallahassee too. Not expected right now, but keep your eye to the sky just in case it does go further north than expected. Tomorrow we're expecting a cloudy day, afternoon, rain and storms in the morning, but by the evening you can see no rain on the future radar, but complete cloudiness. It's not going to be any sun. It's just going to be cloudy and gloomy tomorrow evening, but at least nice to be out. But look at our weekday planner. We're dealing with that morning storms tomorrow. We're seeing a stormy day with about 90% chance, pretty much up to 100% chance of rain I'm expecting tomorrow, at least for the morning. Friday, we may have some isolated storms along the front, but it looks a little bit drier than we originally expected it to be. But I do think more 50-50. Just pay attention and see if these chances do go up, because along the front in daytime heating, it's definitely something to watch. Saturday, if we do see a shower, it's going to be in the morning. It does seem like Saturday is trending drier, which is good for tailgating. It is a little bit warm though, so definitely be paying attention to the heat. You don't want to get sunburned like I did last weekend. Tonight, if you're going to be going out and doing karaoke outside, it's probably not a good night to be doing it outside like you see in this picture, people in line outside. You're going to be dealing with 20-mile-per-hour winds and heavy rain. It's going to get blown into your faces if you're outside. If you need to study at the library tonight, it's going to be windier than calm, but that temperature and that rain forecast is correct, and we're going to be dealing with that, so definitely wear a rain jacket. It's not going to be raining in the library, but as you can see here, you're going to want to wear that rain jacket. You're going to want to wear rain boots as well if you have them. As we look at driving tomorrow, it's going to be raining in the morning, and then it's going to start to clear out, so try to be doing that later in the day if you can. Tonight's forecast, you could see the warm front along the coast. It's going to be potentially in the 70s right along the coast, dealing with the 60s more inland. But now I'm going to pass things back off to Chan.
Thank you for that. Now another look over Doak Campbell Stadium again. We have those clouds persisting and the rain that's trying to make its way, but we are dry in the lower atmosphere, so that dry air is really gobbling up our rain chances. But eventually it is going to make its way here into Tallahassee and eventually make its way down to the ground. But the winds are out of the east-northeast at 13 miles an hour, pretty gusty conditions. 70 though, so again, if you're outside, probably wearing a rain jacket at least. Even if it's not raining, it'll act like a windbreaker. For those area forecasts, Panama City, you guys are seeing that rain, so that is something that we're going to expect here in Tallahassee not too long from now. St. George Island, you guys are also seeing some rain, but again, when you look at FSU Sportsplex, same story as over Doak Campbell Stadium, and also same story in Lake Bradford, just clouds as of now, but we'll see those rain chances really start to make their way in. But speaking of that rain, we're seeing those rain showers really start to push through St. George, pushing up into Leon County. But again, we have a little bit of a dry area sitting on top of us because that dry air that we've had is keeping the rain from falling down onto the ground. So that is the main story right now, is we're waiting to see that finally break through, and we'll start seeing those heavier rain conditions make their way to Tallahassee. For current temperatures, though, again, 70s is what we're mainly seeing here across the Big Bend region. And tonight's forecast, we are expected to cool off a little bit, but only into the mid-60s, maybe upper 60s. Unless you are on the coastline, then you're talking about maybe a little bit warmer conditions upwards into the 70s. But overall, it's going to be pretty chilly if you are trying to get outside, but you probably shouldn't because it will be raining. As for Thursday, we'll see a little bit of morning showers, and we'll be near that 70-degree mark by 9 a.m. But by 3 p.m., we will warm up to about 76. We'll start to see those rain chances really fall away, and we'll just have the clouds remaining. As for that future radar, let's really break that down real quick. So across the early morning hours, we'll see those showers, but by noon, we will start to see those showers really peel away, and we'll just have clouds sitting on top of us by 6 p.m. Tomorrow. As for tomorrow's forecast, again, 70s, mid-70s, maybe 80s if you're talking about Perry and Stop Choppy, and maybe even Apalachicola, but that's across the coastline, so we'll have to see how that works out. But here in Tallahassee and northward, we are going to be a little bit cooler come tomorrow at 5 p.m. As for the week ahead, we will be sitting at 77 degrees again tomorrow. But then when we're starting to talk about Friday into Saturday and Sunday, we will start to see that sunshine come back out, and we'll be talking about 80s again until Sunday when we cool down to 76, and then we're talking about really cool conditions. But now let's just chat a little bit. So like Nico was mentioning at the beginning of the show, the main story is severe weather. We have some chances for severe weather come tonight, so make sure that you have your phone alerts on, especially if you live in the central and southern Florida regions. So again, you guys are going to be seeing those stronger winds, maybe even isolated tornadoes, so it's always good to stay weather aware. Here in Tallahassee, we also have a little bit of that rain or that severe weather chance, especially if the warm front with this system makes its way further north than anticipated. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But after tomorrow, we start to see those chances of severe weather really just clear out, and we're left with sunshine. And by Saturday, when we have game day at noon against Syracuse, we should be sitting at pretty nice conditions. It will be probably a little bit chillier than last week because we will be at noon, and it will only get up to 86 degrees. So keep that in mind if you are going to see the game. Make sure you guys wear some sunscreen still, though, because we'll have a lot of sunshine. But follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/FSU weather if you want to stay updated. Like us on Facebook. You can also stay updated there. You can also watch us live on YouTube like you're doing right now. Make sure you like and subscribe. That really helps us out. Follow us on Instagram at FSU Weather and send us your pics around Tallahassee and Florida. We can definitely share those. But now I'm going to leave you guys with the 7-day. Thank you guys for watching this Wednesday edition of FSU Weather.